What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm Carrie Rowan, your host on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Listen online on your mobile devices, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 radio. To learn more and for a full schedule, go to dreamvision7radio.com and get our apps. Thank you so much and welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here today with my special guest. I'm going to introduce her in just a second. And we're talking about some really incredible stuff here today with my friend Lisa. We're talking about, and as you know, we always talk about stories and how our stories are affecting our lives. And one of the things I love about this work is something I call story catching, is once you start becoming aware of those stories that are limiting you and holding you back that you don't even realize are doing that, it's really hard to ever go back to telling that story. And that's the cool thing about it. You can catch yourself mid-story and you'll start pulling yourself back saying, hey, I don't want to tell that story anymore. It's really a negative story and I don't want to go to that place anymore. And the other thing that sort of comes up when you start doing this type of work where you're examining what's going on between your ears is you can be a little hard on yourself. Right? Once we start looking at these stories, we can start to get maybe even a little angry or regretful. Like, why am I telling that story? I know better than that. And so one of the pieces that I really try to weave into my work with my clients is really to have more self-compassion. And that is one of the specialties of my guest today. So having compassion for yourself, because we told that story for a reason. Stories always have a noble purpose, right? There's a reason you were telling it. Maybe you needed to get your needs met. Maybe you needed to make sense out of the world. So there's always a reason that our mind is making up these stories. And stories are usually a call for love. So when we can take those stories and embrace those stories and own the fact that we told them, then we have the power to change those stories. And I really love that about this work, is really being more self-compassionate. Like, hey, you know what? It's okay. I was telling that story. We all do it. And it was a means to an end. And I'm going to honor that story, forgive myself for telling it, and let that story go. And that's the beauty and one of the things I really love about this work. So join me in introducing today Lisa Dunlap. She is a holistic nurse practitioner. She's a public speaker, a healer, and a coach. She helps high-achieving women and nurses restore and revive, and so they can reignite their passions and build profitable online health coaching businesses so they can leave that 9-to-5 goodbye. So hello, Lisa. Welcome so much to Look for the Good. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. What a great intro.
Thank you. Thank you. We've spoken before, and we're part of a great mastermind together. And our work is so synchronistic. I feel like there's so many things that we do that just we're so in alignment with each other in our work. And that's one of the things I really loved about and wanted to have you on the show because you've got some really incredible stories, some incredible turnaround stories in your life. Why don't we start there? Do you want to share one of your stories, the one that had the most impact that you had to kind of turn around in your own mind?
Absolutely. Get right into it. And I love your mission of, healing through stories, because that is what my big transformation was, that I had to share my story, my message to help women, empower them, to reignite their passion, restore and heal. And it's very similar to yours. So I'd say mine begins, rewind, I think 3 years now, right around this time when the pandemic was full blown, where I was practicing as a hospice nurse practitioner on the front lines in Seattle, King County. So it's in the recesses of our brain, but if you all remember, that's actually where COVID first exploded. And
Mhm.
my job of going in and out of nursing homes was very chill up until that point. I mean, hospice has its own things, but I was a mom of a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So it was a great
Wow.
schedule. I was in the low stress kind of end of my career. I'd been a nurse practitioner about 6 years at that point, a nurse for about 12. And, at that place where I should have been happy, should have,
Hmm.
running half marathons, skiing, surfing, very active. And this began, like, the pandemic was the trigger that started to unravel and peel away my layers so I could get to the core and, like, take away, I think, what you're talking about, limiting beliefs and things that had kept me surviving until that point. And so during that period of time, I was burning out, but didn't know it. I didn't know the signs, and I was very high
Hmm.
achieving. So in my mind, starting to dread going to work was, well, shove it down, just keep going. Oh,
Hmm.
starting to have back pain, shove it down, just keep going, help more people, do more, prove to the world, and maybe this resonates, that I can do it, that I got it all.
Hmm.
And that's one of the stories I had to learn. And so I was turning 40 and I tried to run this half marathon, and being very active, it shouldn't have been a big deal, but I couldn't. There was no injury. My body just wasn't working quite right. And the next day I woke up and couldn't walk, care for my kids, go to work. And that was clue one. Things were off. And being human, I was searching for medical answers. Again, it couldn't be me. I'm like trying to get a diagnosis and imaging scans, this and that, right? So I was kind of on and off work dealing with that for a few
Hmm.
months. And then right around March, still didn't know I was burnout. I'm dreading work. I'm compassion fatigue, like hospice patients
Hmm.
have pain. And I'm like, if I hear another person tell me they're in pain because I got this hip back thing going on, I just it was unraveling. And
Hmm.
I should also say that I've had a lifetime of anxiety and depression. And up until that point, it was all about proving to the world that I was okay by all my achievements. And so as my ability to achieve was stripped away, momming, marathoning, going to work as a nurse practitioner was like, whoa, it was a big wake-up call, because I had to face my own worth and being with just being and not doing. And that was powerful. And
Hmm.
so that was unraveling in the background. And I was working on using my holistic tools. I'm a certified energy healer, mindfulness, um, clinical aromatherapy. I was using those tools to kind of work on my back pain. And so I got well enough to go to the mountain for a ski trip. And it was this final trip for, like, Seattle was going to shut down in March. It was right around this time, lights out, don't leave your home.
Oh.
And basically, I got that call you don't want to get. And it's that call from the doctor where they say, can you sit down a minute? And it just,
Mm.
everything went dark for me, like I knew. And it was my OBGYN. And she said, we found a solid mass the size of a grapefruit. I mean, grapefruit
Whoa.
in your ovary. And the first thing kind of felt good and relief, because she said, we think this has been causing your back and hip pain. And I'd already been on this 3-month journey of doctors starting to be like, well, we don't know. You're just a chronic pain med seeker. And I'm like, not at all. Um, And so I felt relief, like, okay, they found a cause. But then solid ovarian mass triggered all my alarms. As a hospice nurse practitioner, a woman in her 40s, ovarian cancer is very deadly and very silent, and the symptoms are vague. And she said, we need you to race in to the office and we need to like get tests and figure this out. And I'm like, and that, Carrie, was this like moment of waking up and pausing. And up until that point in my life, I'd always kind of chose that victim path. The like, oh my God, the sky is falling. We gotta go. Everything's happening to me. I'm a mess. Let's turn the car around. I decided to ask myself in that moment what it is I needed, because I saw 40 years before me in my brain. I saw 40 years ahead of me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I could be dying. Do I need to race back to the office and go down that stress pathway, or do I need to head up to the mountain with my family? We had the nanny. It was sunny. It was spring, and do what fills my cup. And the answer was clear. It was like, go to that mountain. This can wait. I'm not bleeding. I'm healthy enough to do this. I'll visit them in a few days. And that was really powerful, because on that mountain, I really got to play with, where else would I rather be if I'm sick or dying? This mountain with my family. And I have a choice. I can choose joy. I could choose to be present. Or I could choose the anxiety spiral pathway that I usually choose. And I was mostly choosing that joy, that laughter, that this is beautiful. This is what I can control in this moment, is my heart and my thoughts. I can't control COVID. I can't control my body. I can't control this diagnosis. And that was profound for someone who tried to control her circumstances her entire life with anxiety and tried to achieve. And so then, the story goes on. We finish the trip and we go back to the office, and I'll be honest, I saw the math on the screen, and then I spiraled into a paper bag, and I'm like, it's metastasizing from my head to my toe, and so it's like my mind-body connection that I'm very familiar with was working against me.
Yeah.
And, by the time from doctor's office to home, I thought it was metastasizing in my bones and thought I had COVID, and my husband's kind of chuckling from afar. And I had 3 months to sit and wait. Doctors' offices were closing. It wasn't easy at that time I was low on the list of like priorities for these doctors. So waiting in that anxiety and fear, and still deciding I have a choice. I've got 2 small children, no childcare, stuck at home. I'm kind of off and on pain. What can I do in this struggle? I can choose depression, fear, anxiety, or I can choose a whole bunch of other things. Laughter, mindfulness, being present, engaging my senses, bare feet in the grass, a ritual every day at noon on my yoga mat without pressure to get a 6-pack of abs, do the yoga. It was like, I'm going to go on that mat every day and say, what is it I need today to feel nurtured right now? Not like nurtured tomorrow or on my to-do list. Like, what can I do in this circumstance? And sometimes that was tears. Sometimes, Carrie, that was envisioning the mass dissolving. I envisioning myself surfing, snowboarding again, mothering again. And then I asked a community of people, and we've heard stories like this, but it's amazing. It gives me chills when I've told it millions of times. And they envision my mass dissolving, and we worked on the power of our thought and what we could control. And I practiced self-compassion. And that was the first time in my life where I really learned to say, this is hard and this is okay. And I feel like I'm going to cry or throw something. Okay, go outside and cry and throw something. Don't stuff it. Don't pretend. Don't go run a marathon. Just be, and just ask yourself what you need to hear. What are kind words? Us high achievers have really strong inner critics. And what are the kind words? You'll get through this. I kind of was learning to mother myself. And so finally we get 8 weeks into this journey, no ovarian cancer. Praise the Lord. They just said, sit tight and wait. Yes. And they said, you now need surgery, but you're on a waiting list. Don't come in the ER, blah, 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 because of COVID. Okay, fine. So a lot of nights of some severe pain and fear still. Going for surgery, another 6 weeks went by, and nothing was there. Nothing was there. They opened me up. They went in my over. There was no mass. There was no imprint. There was no fluid from it bursting. And this was 12 weeks from diagnosis. And the doctor was like jaw dropped. She told me how she looked at the OR. She got 5 other sets of eyes in there, looking at my scans, looking at my body, looking at my scan, like making sure.
Am I missing something?
Right. Yeah. And then she came out of surgery and said, I said, did you take out my ovary like you're supposed to? And she said, no. And I'm like, what? Why did we go through that? She said, there was nothing to take out. Oh my, that was that moment of like, wow, I knew all this mind body stuff worked long before I was a nurse, but I really believed it now. And I just knew, I knew. She was like, I don't know what, this is the studies don't show. Like my mind and body have been working against me probably for a lot of years, like building up stress, burnout, stuffing grief, high achieving, self-worth. And I created illness. And I'm not saying everyone who has a mass created that or, but this is me. And that mass for me was stress. When I peeled away the layers of building self-worth with just being, and I healed, and I had community, and I had self-love, and it was just, that was it. That was the story that changed my life forever.
That is so beautiful. I mean, you said so many poignant things in there. It's hard to really pick one, but I love when you said it was a choice, because I talk a lot about that in my book as well. In the direst of circumstances, we still have a choice, right? And you had the choice right in that moment. Am I going to think that life is just doing this awful thing to me and take the victim story, as I call it in my book? Or am I going to step out and say, you know what, wait a second, hold on. I'm going to take full responsibility for what's going on in here, because that's the only thing that I can ever change. It's the only thing we ever really have control over anyways, right? And so to change your mindset so drastically and be like, okay, well, life has given me this, and what am I going to do with it now? Is so incredibly powerful, and so the most important element of healing, I feel like,
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Now I want to read your book. And I feel like I call this story, sometimes pain is my portal, and I call it a gift, just like you said, because we need these wake-up calls. And it allowed me to awaken this whole business and this whole passion I didn't even know existed,
right?
that I'm going to share about. And it allowed me to see that, how can I say this? Like, we have this idea on paper of what we think happiness will be. And when we get here and there's achievements, and then you get there and you're thinking, so many of us, I got to keep doing this. This is what I always thought. And like, I'm making money and I'm at the top of my career. I'm not happy, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But the healing for me was letting go of that ideal. Like, I don't need to do this anymore. It's not making me happy. I mean, I'm in scrubs today, so I still am a clinician, but on my terms. And letting go of that fear of like, wait, it's okay to be someone with depression, anxiety. I don't need to prove anything. I'm going to start talking about it. Like, I'm not going to like see it as a weakness anymore. I'm going to see these like illnesses, physical, mental, as part of my strengths. And the more I shared and the more I talked and the more I felt them, the more I healed.
I love that. And the more you're connecting with other people, right? You're creating this safe space, because we give people that space when we show them and we own our own stuff. It gives them permission to step into who they really are. And that's the power of this work, right? We're all just a mirror of each other. Our stories are a reflection of each other's stories. And when we can share those worst, most awful things that we think were happening to us, they actually end up being the best thing. It ends up being our biggest turnaround story. And I talk a lot about that in the book too. Is like, and people, my students and my clients will come to me, and once I get them to share that worst, what they think is their worst, ugliest, oh, I could never share that. It ends up being, just like for you, Lisa, this beautiful, powerful story of strength that inspires other people to take those same steps, right?
Yeah, I love that. And similar now when I coach women that's it. It's empowering them to see themselves a bit in me, and then to share their own truth and to feel good about it, to build that confidence around, yeah, I am this odd, different, unique individual who has different chemical things going on, physical things, and I am beautiful, not despite that, but because of it. And,
Yes.
it's almost like a visual art piece, right? Like we're this canvas, and it'd be so boring. Like if we're all just this great canvas, like, and so, yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? I think
It's
that
so
it's
cool.
beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it celebrates taking your power back. You took your power back. The universe gave you this opportunity. And again, we all have that choice in any situation, is to look at something in life as this, oh my gosh, look at, why is this happening to me? Or this is happening for a really good reason. This is the gift. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to control the only thing I ever could control, which is my mind and how I think about it, and how I can reframe this problem to be the biggest gift in my life. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, and I want to be honest, and I'm sure you speak of this too, like it's an ongoing journey. Like I'm human. Like I still fall into the high achiever, do, and then I have that self-awareness now. Like, whoa, you're doing the same thing. You're living your dream life, building a business, living near the surf, all the things. Why are you doing that? And again, so I still, those patterns resurface,
Big
and
time.
self-worth still resurfaces,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. It's an ongoing journey. Like I'm continuing. I have coaches, I have mentors, we invest in them. And um, I think that's human too. It's not one and done. It's not, it's not like, oh, that happened and I'm good for the rest of my life. And I walk around like this coach who's got it all together. Like, no.
It's so true. I love that point, because I'm always, we get to this point, we've done the work, we've done so much inner work. And I have clients that, well, why do I have to keep doing it? Well, because we're just a work in progress, like the canvas that you mentioned. We are that work in progress, and it gets more beautiful as you go along. And we all need reminders, because we're humans. And this world is built on distractions. Our attention is being pulled away in so many. It's an external world, when really we need to spend more time internally, right? And so, right?
Absolutely. And that's like the message of self-compassion. That was one thing. I'm glad you said that. Was I was feeling so disconnected that I was reaching for all these other things to connect, to connect, to connect. It was all about connecting to me through compassion
Yeah.
that made me feel less lonely. It sounds so backwards. I felt more connected to humans and the world than I ever had by spending all that time alone on that yoga mat every day at noon, which was a lot of time alone for a mom with small children, an hour every day. And
Yes.
was connecting to me and just deciding like I'm not alone, and to say that and to feel that's part of self-compassion, is you're not
Absolutely.
alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really powerful. And we're going to hold that thought, because we're going to break real quick for a quick little commercial. But I love that. Stay tuned. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this with Lisa.
Today's show is sponsored by Nurse Your Soul with Lisa. Are you dreading going to work? Tired of spending all your time and energy at work only to come home too exhausted for the things you enjoy? Wouldn't it be great to have more energy and time for yourself, your kids, and to love what you do? Lisa Dunlap with Nurse Your Soul has helped thousands of high-achieving women, mothers, and nurses transform their burnout, restore and revive themselves, reconnect to their passions, and step into the life of their dreams. Sign up for Lisa's Restore and Revive online workshop on June 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. After this workshop, you'll have all the tools you need to thrive, feel inspired, and rejuvenated. Just go to www.nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com. That's www.nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com and sign up today.
Hello, and welcome back to Look for the Good. We're here with Lisa Dunlap today, and she is sharing the most incredible story, her biggest turnaround story. And we're talking about how life pulls us away from what is most important, right? It pulls us away from that time we need to spend inside, because we're such an externally focused world. And Lisa was sharing with us how, when she decided to spend that time and gave herself permission to spend that time on the mat every day at 12 o'clock, even though she's a mom of two kids and super busy, how that really changed her and made her even feel more connected. You want to elaborate a little bit more on that, Lisa? I love that thought.
Yeah, I love this idea because sometimes we think it has to be this grand change, and another great book, Atomic Habits, talks about that, how it can be the smallest thing, right? Because it is changing behavior and mindset that I was doing. And I was learning how to take care of myself in small ways amidst crazy circumstances. And it wasn't huge. It was a commitment every day to go to that yoga mat. And like I said, sometimes that was just a self-compassion. It's very easy, and any of your listeners can do it. And I have a great free link that has the guided practice and a great little tip sheet for everyone who's listening.
I love that.
Yeah, and so it's being intentional though, right? So I love to say we got to have a ritual before it's a habit. So we do have to kind of say, I'm going to go on that yoga mat and do self-compassion work. Takes 3 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Or I also then learned kind of my own atomic mindful habits was, what can I do in many moments with crazy children in a pandemic stuck at home for myself? And that was, we've all heard it, but it's so powerful, engaging my 5 senses. And I stepped outside because often when we're in fight or flight, fear, anxiety, pain, we are future tripping or past tripping. Our amygdala just goes to that place. We're not in the present. We don't even know what we're feeling. In fact, it can be a cover up for what we're feeling. I'd rather feel stress and anxiety than whatever's deep under there. And so I would go outside, take off my shoes, and engage my senses and name, I see this, I hear this, I smell this, I feel this, I taste this. I think that's all of them. You don't need to do them in any order. You don't need to do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that stresses me out when I forget. So just doing that. And the research is so good for self-compassion and mindfulness, that it can be like in 1 minute, you can change from fight or flight. Not even, I think it's like 5 to 10 seconds of like a big deep breath, because when I'm doing that sensory engagement, I'm breathing. And it can literally, it's so cool, trigger your nose hairs, to trigger your brain, to slow your heart rate, to reduce your blood pressure, and to return to the present. And once I learned that tool, it was like, wow, this is profound. It's so easy. It's quick. I can do it when combined with something else, like washing my hands or walking my kids on a walk. And that allowed me to then go, what am I feeling? What do I need? It's like, oh, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling stressed. Okay, now's a good time for self-compassion. Now's a good time for a walk. So it's like when I said the onion, I meant it, because we're complex and we created these habits. If you've ever had trauma, which most of us have, to cover it up and just do to like, whatever. And so I created these kind of like, was finding a way to really get to the root problems. And that yoga mat just gave me permission every day to ask the question, to do that, and to carve out space, because time is always an issue for folks. So you don't need an hour on your yoga mat. You just need intentional 5 minutes a day of asking yourself some really good self-awareness questions and giving back to yourself.
Absolutely. And the cool thing I love about that, and again, I talk about that in my book, when we ask the brain good questions, right? We need to ask better questions, as opposed to those questions, which are really little stories in and of themselves. Oh my God, why does this always happen to me? Or why can't I get anything right? Those little insidious ones that go on quietly that we usually don't share with other people. It's about the quality of the questions. And I love that question that you asked yourself, what do I need in this moment? What do I need right now? That's a powerful question, right? And you're going to get all sorts of answers. You're going to find out what you really need. And guess what? You can provide it for yourself. A lot of times I think we're looking for other people to fill in our needs. And this is a beautiful practice of relying on yourself. I think self-reliance is really important. And you're also building self-confidence with what you're describing. Each time we do it, each time we prove to ourselves we can get on that mat or sit down and meditate or whatever it is that does it for us.
I love that you picked up on that, because it's very interesting now. There's that, what do I want and what do I need? And so sometimes here I am human, if I'm like angsty and grasping at my husband for something, and then it's like, slow down. I can slow myself down and I can say, what is it you really need right now? Like often the answer is, I need to go be by myself. And I'm like grasping at him, being annoying. It's like, I need a break. I've been on the go. Like, I'm not going to walk.
Mhm.
And then sometimes we can think we know what we need, but it's not. I encourage you to ask it a few times. Like I'll say, what does that need? Oh, chocolate and wine, right? And so I go and get wine. I'm sitting there watching Netflix. I'm like, this really wasn't what I needed. And that's
Mhm.
okay. We're human. That's what I wanted. But what I needed was a cup of tea, a bath, and a book, right? And so
Mm.
learning to self-soothe and nurture is a journey. And we can mess up. We can say, what do I need? Chocolate and chips, and be like, that's not really it. It was a salad and a green juice. So I'm going to make a choice next time, right?
Mhm.
And I love it because it's also not judging ourselves, Carrie, for when we do make the
Mhm.
wrong choice and we
Mhm.
go for the Netflix binge and the chocolate and wine. Okay, so I did. Try again tomorrow. Maybe that's what I needed. And sometimes we do need that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a journey of starting to just decide and figure out what it is you love. A lot of us women and moms and high achievers, we haven't really, really gotten to know what we love on a day-to-day basis, as far as is it time in nature or me on my surfboard. That's not for everyone,
Mhm.
but what is it that reignites our passion? I know you talk about that a lot and fills our cup. And it can be tiny. It can be
Yeah.
teeny tiny, like
Mhm.
making coffee a ritual, not like a guilt trip. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have my coffee every day. You can't take it away from me, but I'm gonna make it a ritual. I'm gonna appreciate it. I'm gonna be proud of it, not like, oh, I need to quit that again. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really just about how we frame our thinking around what we do too.
Absolutely. And I love how you're tying together self-care with knowing yourself, right? I tell clients of mine to make a list. I want to see a list of everything you love because what you said is so huge. We don't even realize what we love. We've gotten so far away from what we love because what we do is usually very different than what we love, right? They're two very different things. That what we have to do, but what we actually love to do. So I think discovering that is really part of good self-care. When you're taking that bath, bring up your pen and paper or your journal and write down all the things you absolutely love. What do I love? Maybe you do love chocolate and wine. We all do, but just listing all those things that you love in any aspect. It doesn't have to be deemed, and not judging it along the way, right? Just making that list your master list so that you can go there and deliberately each day choose 1, 2, 3 things of self-care that you're going to do for yourself.
I love that. And, it's funny that after that surgery experience, my husband and I sat around a fire. Here we were in Seattle, like most expensive city, probably in the world, starting to be, but one of the most expensive in America. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were barely scraping by. 2 full-time, good jobs, 2 small children. We looked at each other. We said, what is it we want? What is this all about? We just went through this huge scare, kind of, I wouldn't say for nothing, but at the end of the day, I just got surgery and I was like, why did I even get surgery? Right. Um, and we're like, what is the point? And we listed, and this is powerful too. I do with my clients, like verbally saying
Mhm.
it, acting like it's already happened. And we said, oh, we see ourselves on a beach surfing every day. We had lived in Hawaii before kids, and we
Oh.
couldn't go back that way. It was awesome,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
costly.
Oh yeah.
Want more time freedom. We want more like freedom in like our day to day with the weather. Like we wanted to live somewhere with better weather than Seattle.
Mhm.
I wanted to quit my job and build a business. I didn't know what it would be at that moment. I just knew I had to share my story and empower women to do the same, to heal, to find their passion. And then it evolved. And so we made a choice around the fire right after my surgery. We're going to move. We're going to move to his home state of North Carolina. And Wilmington has this cute little beach surfer community. And we're old, so we don't need like big waves. And we just said, this is what we're going to do. And I said, I'm quitting my 6-figure plus job. And he was really struggling with that. Like, because I made more than him at that time.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And we needed the money. And I just said, look, this is about me finding my gifts and being happy and being here for you and the kids. And for me, fear was not even a thing then, because I just knew I have to follow this dream to heal and help others and to feel like I'm making a difference and loving what I do. And so it wasn't even Now fear played in later, but it was like, I got to do this. And so I quit my job, and we didn't have the money. I didn't have money to invest in a business. It was just going all in, and being with the kids was the other part, right? Like really wanting to be there with them during this COVID time, and, moving across the country. And, so here we are, we're here 3 years later in the beach town. Surfing is a part of our daily, weekly ritual. I won't say daily. And, I'm building my business. It's growing, and I'm helping nurses and high achieving women to restore and reignite their passions and build their own businesses. And then I work a little bit as a clinician because it's really fun, a little bit.
You keep your finger on the pulse of that. And that's cool. I love that you stepped out and you let that fear go, to follow your passion. And that's so huge. And I feel like when you do that, it's really like a mark in the sand to the universe, because I know what that's like. I jumped off the corporate ladder and left my job to pursue my music career, which some thought I was quite crazy. So I get it. You make this line in the sand. It's a real commitment to yourself. And also you're telling the universe very clearly what it is that you want.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, it was funny because I'm like, my husband's like, okay, how are you going to make money? I don't know, I'm just going to hold workshops. That's like, this is how it started. It's like, what are you? I don't know. I'm just going to share my story. And it just evolved, right? Like into more. It's like, okay, workshops ain't it. After 6 months, it's like, that ain't going to do it. So, okay, I'm going to coach people one-on-one. Why not? And it really also is what I help women understand now who come to me. They can leverage their current expertise without further training and certifications and achievements. It's really about, what am I good at? What do I love doing? And how can I give that to others? And I just wanted to give people self-compassion. And so, no, I mean, it was a struggle. Don't get me wrong. We've had our moments financially,
Right.
where you start to wonder, was this the right choice? But then when you have that why, like you have, and I have, and so many, like, no, it's about helping others and continuing to heal and empower others. And for me, and I've gone back full time. It was a big mistake. I quickly felt burnt out and ill again, and was like, what am I doing?
A sign from you, right? And being of service. I love that you mentioned that, really stepping into what our gifts are, because that's what makes us unique. Back to your palette analogy of a piece of art, which is so different. It just varies. And that's what we humans are, just a work of art in progress, right? And really pulling out those pieces of us that make us feel alive when we do it, which is the creativity. You're creating this business out of nothing. And when we're creating, we're closer to our source, whatever you believe that is. We're drawing that energy down. And that is the stuff that brings vitality and health to our life. And I love sharing that with people. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to break real quick for a message from a sponsor, and we will be right back. Take care.
Today's show is sponsored by Nurse Your Soul with Lisa. Are you dreading going to work? Tired of spending all your time and energy at work only to come home too exhausted for the things you enjoy? Wouldn't it be great to have more energy and time for yourself, your kids, and to love what you do? Lisa Dunlap with Nurse Your Soul has helped thousands of high-achieving women, mothers, and nurses transform their burnout, restore and revive themselves, reconnect to their passions, and step into the life of their dreams. Sign up for Lisa's Restore and Revive online workshop on June 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. After this workshop, you'll have all the tools you need to thrive, feel inspired, and rejuvenated. Just go to www.nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com. That's www.nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com and sign up today.
Hello, welcome back, everybody, to Look for the Good. We're here with Lisa Dunlap, and she is sharing the most incredible stories with us. We're talking about self-compassion. We're talking about so many incredible things, following your passion. I love the work she does. Tell us a little bit more about Nurse Your Soul. It's such a great name for your business.
Thank you. And it's a great time to talk about it. You were talking about nurturing the spiritual aspect. And that's what I discovered in this journey was health is all about mind, body, spirit. And I really started to understand that. So Nurse Your Soul is just really what it sounds like. It's about helping women who feel stuck and in the hamster wheel and want to find their passion again, to really nurture their soul. And by building a business and restoring themselves, they can do that. And so, yeah, you can find me at nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com, just like it sounds. And that's a great place to get that self-compassion practice, or book a free coaching call. And so I help nurses and high achieving women through one-on-one coaching. I have group coaching. I have 2 programs I run. One that I've run for a long time is called Restore and Revive. And that's really about that nurturing yourself, overcoming burnout. It's a 6-week group container. And then I have a newer one that's really exciting and fun. It's 90 days. It's called Bedside to Abundance. So it's going from the 9 to 5 working as a nurse, or I have others who are not nurses in it too. And figuring out what your high skills are that you want to share with the world, and how you can do that online, virtually, so you can start to scale back, either at your work or quit completely.
I love that.
And just really thrive and love your life again.
I really, really love that. I think that's so powerful. So I love your website too, because it's so easy to find, nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com. That's really great. We don't even have to spell any of the words. It's so
Yeah,
easy.
exactly. And I have lots of freebies on there. And, I go live on Facebook. And I have a Facebook group. It's a little more niche down, but it's for nurses. It's
Mhm.
called Burnt Out at the Bedside, and just
Mm.
helping them. It's really relatable for anyone that, that feeling of being stuck and overcoming those fears. And so we work on mindset, and we work on self-nurture, and we work on confidence, a lot of the same things as you. And
Yeah.
we do holistic practices, because that's the integration. That's the soul
Yeah.
integration. Even no
Mhm.
matter what your religion is, there's just
Mhm.
a common spiritual connection with us all, and that we can
Right.
integrate what we learn. It's like you can learn all day, but it's the action. And you and I know this from our mentors, it's in the action taking that
Mhm.
things really shift. So
It's
it's
so
almost
true.
like taking action even though you're afraid, taking action even though it's not perfect, taking action
Right.
before you're ready.
Amen.
Yeah.
Totally. And I find that it's so powerful. That's why I call myself a mindset energy coach. Why is it energy? Because everything's energy, right? And unless you can know all this stuff in your head, you can have gone to all the seminars. How many times you walk out of a seminar, and you take all these notes and you get all this great information, but do you ever implement it into your life? It's about the energy, the action that you take. Because if you want to change your mind, you have to shift that energy somehow. And that's what we do with the practices that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So mindfulness, self-compassion, I do
Mhm.
tapping, some guided imagery,
Mhm.
like virtually aromatherapy a little bit, talking about that. But really all it is tools to help us integrate. And,
Exactly.
I walk these women through from nothing all the way to building and scaling, half their income in 90 days, so that they can really have that confidence to take that leap. And I think that's the big thing, is that leap and that step
Mm.
that you and I took, and that so many of us just feel like, oh, but the money, the time, and there's just all these things that creep in. And
Yeah.
it's amazing to take those leaps, because then we can feel, like you said, confident, and we can
Mhm.
say, you know what, I've done hard things, I can continue to do hard things. One of the new things I'm going to have in my business coming up is like adventure on-site coaching, where I take women out hiking or take them out
Mm.
surfing, and have it be like a retreat, for burnout, but also leaping through those fears. Surfing is this perfect analogy of that. On a daily
Totally.
I've been a surfer for like 15 years, and I am still a beginner, because
Wow.
it's not easy. And every day the ocean's different. Every location is different.
Mhm.
Every day I paddle out and I'm afraid, and not on a like I'm gonna die kind of fear, but am I gonna get hurt? Am I gonna drop it? Am I gonna catch a wave today? I'm not
Mhm.
feeling great. I don't feel like doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then that moment the wave comes, making that choice. It's such a good analogy. Real quick, you don't have time
Right.
to mess around.
To
So,
overthink it.
yeah, you can't sit on the edge and the fence of a wave, or you will be
Right.
going to fall. And so you really have to
Yeah.
decide, am I in or am I out? Right. And so
Right.
sometimes I pull out and I pull out, I pull out. But then when you're in, you got to commit. You got to commit. It ain't perfect. Doesn't need to look
Mhm.
perfect, but you're committing. And then
I
it's a
love that.
rush. And then it's like, did that. And it feels spiritual to me to be in nature and to connect to myself in that way. And so I think that sometimes to reignite our passion, we actually have to try new things, like try something that gets us out of our comfort zone, and like to tell our brain and our body, like, oh, I can do hard things and
Mhm.
I'm okay.
Exactly. I love that. Trying something new, signing up for that pottery class you always dreamed of. I'm going to go on your surfing.
Yay.
Yeah, that would be so therapeutic. And I love that analogy. So let me know when that would be so powerful. But there's power in that. Make a decision and then just make it right. Because there are no right or wrong decisions, right? Just make a decision and then make it powerful for yourself. Make it the right one, because there are so many different decisions we could make, and I really love that thought.
Yeah, that's a great, it's like, no regret, right? So it's like
No
you can
regret.
decide to pull off the wave or go in it. Either way, it's great. But like, you're going to do it, you're going to commit. And why worry
Mhm.
about the one that just happened or didn't? Because there's another one coming.
Right.
And it's so
Beautiful. There's
great.
so many
Yeah,
analogies.
I know. And you're in community, but you're alone. That's the thing.
Right.
My husband, he's a great surfer. And when we met in Hawaii at a surf break, almost, gosh, 18 years ago,
Wow.
I'd say, okay, teach me everything you know. Take me out. And he'd like paddle me out and be like, okay, I'm going to sit over here. You sit there. And I'm like, well, can you tell me more? And he's like, no, like you just have to do it. And then, if I would be like floundering, like in a set, and I'm afterwards, I'm like, why didn't you? He's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm not gonna
Right. You're on your
paddle
own.
and risk like my life. And like, he's really kind. I don't want to paint that picture, but that
Yeah.
idea that like you really are on your own journey and you
Yeah.
have to do what's right for you. He can't push me in a big wave and be like, that's right for you. Or
Mhm.
you go play in the sand on the baby waves.
Mhm.
Like knowing my own limits and knowing how to push myself is just really
Mhm.
powerful. Like I'm grateful to him for that now. At the time, I just was so mad. Like,
Of course, right?
do not teach me. Yeah.
It's easy to get mad at the husbands anyways, but it's finding what those limits are, right? Because, we don't always know what those limits are until we get in there and try it. And that's part of breaking out of that same old, same olds. Really understanding yourself, because we're changing just like the waves in the ocean every day. We change. We're different people every day we wake up. We have all these billions of cells every day that are brand new. We got to tell them something new. If we want something different, we got to tell them what to do and tell them something new every single day.
Absolutely. And I think when you mentioned confidence, I think with women building businesses and women that you coach, there's this idea of like not even knowing what's possible. Like we've
Mhm.
never allowed ourselves, you in corporate world, me as a nurse practitioner, like I just kind of saw them as like ceilings. Like that's it. It doesn't get better than this. Like
Mhm.
this is, but like having this whole new idea of like, what else can go? What else is possible? What
Right.
other kinds of like joy can I find?
Yeah.
Money, abundance, and the sky's the limit. And so the more we challenge ourselves with those discomforts, it's like we're saying, wow, like you went surfing in that, and oh my gosh, like you could really do anything. And so I love like helping women see that, because for whatever reason, I feel like in society, well, we can't even get into that, but just there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I feel like, I'm all about women empowerment and just
Yeah.
helping women see their gifts and their possibilities.
And
So
I think that question that you asked is one of my favorites. You said, what else is possible? You
yeah,
know, what else even if you're in a sticky situation and you can ask yourself, what else is possible here that I'm not seeing, right? What am I missing about this situation that could actually be fantastic for me? And these are right, feeding what we put in is what we get out, and feeding ourselves really good questions. When you ask the mind a question, it always has to come up with an answer. So I love, and if you were to see the backside of my desk here, you would see a lot of my questions posted up in front of me, because all things are possible, and what's great about this situation that I can't see right now,
I
you know?
love that. Yeah. What's the opportunity here? That
Mhm.
was a big one during my time on my yoga mat and that whole transformation. And, how can I shift that inner critic into more of a open, not make her go away. I want to be
Mhm.
clear, because we all
Mhm.
have it. And it's
Mhm.
not about making it go away. It's about being kind to her. And like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, that's kind of harsh. Like talking to yourself like that when you're out surfing, like, come on, it's like learning to reframe how we talk to ourselves. Like, well, what's the opportunity here? What
Mhm.
can I learn? How can I grow? What is there that the good that's coming out of this crap situation? And I think, gosh, that alone, if that's all anyone gets from this conversation, that's pretty big. That's a big one. And
Huge.
just like Carrie said, y'all, like, it's real. Put it on your wall, put it on a Post-it, write it in your journal, say it out loud. Those things really help.
Because we all need reminders. You can't know enough stuff that you'll ever not need a reminder. You just need reminders.
No, I mean, and for me, it's about doing those words when I'm intentional, either on a walk. I'm not a great yoga meditator. Like, I'm really not. I'm better at like walking meditation. And so I have those that I say to myself. And sometimes I click Louise Hay affirmations when I can't figure out how to find them for myself. That's okay too. You know, it's
I
like,
love that.
you
I love
can just,
Louise Hay.
you can ingest someone else's affirmations, and
Yeah.
she's great. A little, you know, sometimes it's cheesy, but it really does work when you're in that place, you know, because we're all in this positive place right here. But, you know, yesterday I lost my keys and had this whole thing, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But then to turn that into like, what's the good? What am I supposed to learn? Where can I grow? You know, it chewed up more than half my day, $1,000 later for the push button car. I'm telling you. And guess who found them today? My daughter found them.
I love it.
In her backpack.
In her toy box.
And it's like, I can even today spend all day beating myself up.
Yeah.
Or say, you know what? That's energy wasted.
Exactly.
Why not just continue to say, what can I learn from that? How can I grow? Maybe it was a wealth consciousness exercise of just dropping $1,000 for no reason and just
because
being okay
you could,
with that.
Right? And maybe it was to teach you patience, or, you know, there's always a reason in there. There's always a reason hidden in there. Maybe you weren't supposed to get on the road at that moment and it saved you from something, right? So I like looking at, I like looking for the good. That's the name of the show.
My husband would agree about the patience. That's what he said. But I don't like it coming from him. But you're right. Absolutely. And I think ultimately for me, it's always like, slow down.
Yeah.
Present, do less, because it's always those gifts of like, you don't have your car keys. Oh, dang, I guess I gotta do nothing today. Like, we can sit around and be angry, or we can be like, wow, cool, you know, vacation.
Maybe I should go for a walk. Maybe you needed to go strap on your surfing gear and head out to the water.
I didn't have a car, but yes.
Well, this has been incredible. And I know that my listeners are loving the stories that you had to share. You have so much information and incredible stories, and you just have this warmth about you. I know people would really love working with you. So make sure you guys go over and get her free gift on nurseyoursoulwithlisa.com. And thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, remember, it's never too late to live your best story. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.